Hello everyone, this is Bhavisha Sharma from LawSchool 101 and this is a video exclusively on the solution of past year paper questions on statement and assumptions brought to you by LawSchool 101 for all the CLAT aspirants. Make sure that you have watched our earlier video on a lesson on the same topic so that you get a better grasp on these questions. Let's start from solving CLAT 2016 questions. First, the next meeting of the executive board of a company will be held after 6 months. This was the statement. Let's now go through the assumptions. Option A. Existing executive board will be dissolved after 6 months. This is not a valid assumption because it actually goes against the premise set up by the statement. Because if this particular executive board will be dissolved after 6 months, there would be no point of having a meeting of the executive board. Also, the dissolution of executive board is totally not in question in the statement and it is not even mentioned. Hence, it is not a valid assumption. Option B, the company will remain in function after 6 months. This is actually a very necessary assumption for the statement to hold true because if the company itself is not in function after 6 months, there will be no point of having a meeting of its executive board. Hence, option B is a valid assumption. Question number 2. In state of Zuminesia, people prefer to travel by X airline instead of Y, as X airline has advanced German security system and 99% on-time operations. Let's read the options now. Option A. Airline X with advanced German security system and record on-time operation is perceived better than airline Y. This is a valid assumption because we need to understand this very simple concept that people prefer A over B only when they think that A is better than B. So here, if we are saying that people prefer to travel by X instead of Y, it is because we have to assume that they find X better than Y. Until and unless we assume that, the statement won't hold true. Hence, A is a valid assumption. Let's read the B assumption now. Had advanced German security system and on-time performance record of Y been implemented, it would have been preferred over airline X. This is not a valid assumption, even though many people might confuse it to be Y. I'll explain it to you. Understand that there is a difference between saying that something is a benefit of X and something is a disadvantage of Y. Here, the statement says that the advanced German security system and on-time operation is a benefit of X. It does not say that they are the disadvantages of Y. What B option does is, it makes them a disadvantage of Y and says that if Y also implements these, it will also get customers, which is not a true assumption because here the statement is not talking about the disadvantages of Y, but the benefits of X. There's a difference between the two and we need to understand that. So B is not a valid assumption. Let's now read the third question. To attend a convocation ceremony scheduled to be held on Thursday at GM University, Chennai, Mr. X left for Chennai on Tuesday by train. Let's read the options now, and this is a fairly simple question. Option A, Mr. X will reach home on Saturday. This is a totally irrelevant option because the statement nowhere mentions about when would he reach home. So this is not a valid assumption. Option B, Mr. X may reach the university on Wednesday. This is a valid assumption even though some people might confuse it to be otherwise. It is a valid assumption. Why? Because understand that when he leaves for Chennai on Tuesday by train, he might reach Chennai on either Tuesday or on Wednesday or on Thursday. So any assumption which includes a may with one of the possibilities, that is one of either Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, would be a valid assumption. So it is a valid assumption because it's saying that Mr. X may reach the university on Wednesday. On the other hand, if it would have said Mr. X would reach the university on Wednesday, it would not have been a valid assumption because according to the statement, it could reach Chennai or the university anywhere between Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. Okay. Let's now discuss some paragraph-based critical reasoning questions from statement and assumption that were asked in CLAT 2011. The first question. Soft drinks have been shown by scientists to be bad for the teeth. Therefore, the government would be justified in banning all soft drinks from the Indian market. Let's read the question now. This was the statement, now the question in bolds. Assuming that the factual claim in the above argument is true, what else needs to be assumed for the conclusion to follow? Let's read the options. Option A. The government is justified in banning anything that is bad for dental health. This is a valid assumption. See, if we break down the statement, it is setting up a premise that the government would be justified in banning all soft drinks from Indian market. Why? Because scientists have shown it to be bad for the teeth. So until and unless we assume that the government is justified in banning anything that is bad for dental health, we cannot say that it is justified in banning soft drinks. That is the premise of the statement. If we use the falsification test here, remember from our previous video, if we falsify what is given in the assumption, that if we say that no, the government is not justified in banning anything that is bad for dental health, it would be contrary to the proposition that is being set up by the statement, because it would then break the statement, because if the government is not justified in banning anything that is bad for dental health, it is not justified in banning soft drinks also, as according to the reasoning given in the question. Thus the statement would fall down. Hence, it is satisfying the falsification test. Thus A is a valid assumption for the question. We, however, should read the other options as well. Option B says soft drinks are also bad for gastric health, which is a totally irrelevant option because the statement nowhere talks about gastric health. Option C says that dental hygiene is a matter of great concern. Okay, yes, it is a question that might support the proposition set up by the statement, but it does not in itself imply that anything that is a matter of great concern, like if anything is affecting a matter of great concern, it should be banned. So it like this particular, the link between the two, that yes, it is a great concern, but how would it affect the banning is missing. So C is not a correct assumption. And D is no further assumptions in SSC, which is totally wrong because we have already proven that A is a correct assumption. So yes, A is the answer in this question. Let's move on to question number 2. In question number 2, let's focus on the specific terms of the question and you will ace. Let's read it. In order to be eligible for election to the Lok Sabha, a person must be at least 25 years of age. Moreover, one must not be bankrupt. Therefore, Jatinder Singh, over 50 years of age and without any criminal convictions, cannot be the Speaker of the Lok Sabha since he has just filed for bankruptcy. Let's approach this question in a different approach. Some of you can use this approach as well for doing the questions. See, here they are giving two conditions for the election for the eligibility of election to the Lok Sabha. That is minimum 25 years of age and no bankruptcy. Then they're talking about Jatinder Singh, who is over 50 years of age, thus he meets the first condition, but he has just filed for bankruptcy. Second, so he does not meet the conditions for election to the Lok Sabha. What they are saying is that he cannot be the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So when they are saying that he cannot be the Speaker of Lok Sabha since he has just filed for bankruptcy, they are somewhere trying to say that only those when there's when they are they're concluding that he is not eligible to file for the Speaker of Lok Sabha. They have not anywhere mentioned what are the requirements for the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So the entire conclusion is falling until and unless we assume that unless and until a particular person is eligible to contest for Lok Sabha, he is not eligible to contest for the Speaker of Lok Sabha as well. Until and unless we assume that, the reasoning does not hold ground. Why? Again, because I'm repeating, they are giving the requirements of eligibility for the election to Lok Sabha, but then they're concluding about the election to Speaker of Lok Sabha. So until and unless they say that one person who is fighting the election for Speaker of Lok Sabha must fulfill all conditions for being a member of Lok Sabha, the particular conclusion that they're drawing would not hold any ground. And the part of conviction, criminal conviction, is just given to confuse the students even more. So here, what one needs to assume for this conclusion to hold true is that only those eligible for election to Lok Sabha would be eligible to be the Speaker of Lok Sabha to contest for Speaker of Lok Sabha. Hence, here the C option would be a correct option. So this could be another approach, whether you test for the reasoning and the conclusion, and then find out the missing link in the reasoning and the conclusion, and then find for it in the assumption options. So that is another way of approaching, but it might take a lot of time. So it's better if you stick to all options approach that I used in the first question, and I'll be using that in the third question as well, so that you can get a better grasp of the approach. Let's read the third question now. It took many centuries before the countries of Europe could resolve their internal problems of violence and corruption to become the stable nation states they are. Therefore, it will take many centuries for India to achieve internal stability. So here, while you can say they're drawing some parallels, that because it took many centuries for the European countries to achieve internal stability, it will also take many centuries or many years for India itself as well to achieve internal stability. So what have they assumed? Let's see option A. Countries everywhere must follow the same path towards stability. This can be a valid assumption, and I would not rule it out as an option or as a correct answer. Let's move on to B. India is gradually progressing towards internal stability. Totally irrelevant what is India doing right now is not giving the statement anywhere. Option C. India can learn how to achieve stability by studying Europe's example. So this is a good assumption as well, because it's saying that India will learn how to achieve stability by studying Europe's example. So this looks somewhere close to what the statement is saying. But here the difference is between how and when. First of all, the statement is talking about the time that India will take to achieve internal stability. It is not talking about how will it achieve internal stability. It is not talking about how can India learn. It is saying that India will take many centuries. India will take a lot of time because Europe did so. It is not saying that India will follow a certain path in the manner of the achieving of stability because Europe did so. It is comparing the time and not the manner. And thus option C is not a correct option, even though prima facie it looks like a correct assumption. It is not. And we can similarly rule out D because no hope of achieving stability in near future. This doesn't hold ground. A is the correct assumption because when you assume that yes, countries everywhere must follow the same paths, you're saying that same paths include a manner or maybe time. Time is also a part of the path that you achieve. But understand that there's a difference between how, there's a difference between when, and when you talk about path, you talk about both how and when. So when you're talking about how, you're not talking about the time, which is necessarily the essence of the question. So here you need to talk about the time that option A is talking and not option C. Option C is talking about how it will achieve the stability. Option A, as well as the statement, is talking about when will it achieve the stability. Hence, option A is a better assumption. An even better assumption would be that India and Europe will follow the same paths towards stability because it would have been more specific. So that would have been a better assumption. Let's now move on to CLAT 2010 questions, which asked 5 one-liners, which are pretty easy. First, if Ram has finished reading the instructions, let him begin the activities accordingly. So now that if he has finished reading the instructions, you can start the activity. What is the speaker assuming? First, that he's understood the instructions. Second, that he will be able to act according to the instructions. Which are the two options? So these two options are in accordance or are in consonance with the statement. Hence, both options are correct. Second question. Children below the age of 7 should not be prosecuted for crimes. Option A is saying that they do not have the mental ability to distinguish between right or wrong, which is a true assumption because until and unless you assume this, you cannot say that they should not be prosecuted. if you look at the same thing in a different manner, that if you assume that they do have an ability to distinguish between right or wrong, then why are you not prosecuting them for their crimes? So the entire statement would fall down. This A is a valid assumption, while B is not, because B blatantly calls them mentally unsound, which is something external or extraneous to what the statement is saying. It's new information, which should not be the case in an assumption. So B is not a valid assumption, while A is. Let's discuss the third question. The statement says that the employer has a right to reject the application of any candidate for employment without assigning any reason while shortlisting for interview. This is a pretty confusing question because some people think that both the options are correct. Let's read through this. Option A says that the employer is impartial and believes in transparency in employment practice. Some people find this assumption to be very true, find this option to be a valid assumption. Well, it is totally not. See, when the speaker is saying that they have a right to reject the application, what they want to say is that the employer has the power of discretion to separate, to distinguish between people and to make choice whom he thinks is eligible or not. When they are making the statement, what they are considering paramount is the employer's wish to employ someone or not, to find someone eligible or not. They're not talking about the impartiality or the unbiased nature of employer. They're just saying that it is the employer's wish after all of whom he considers to be eligible. It does not anywhere talk about impartiality, transparency, etc., etc. This is just new information, totally irrelevant to the question. Do not get confused. So A is an incorrect assumption. B, however, is what I talked about, that the employer wants to call only candidates for interview who in his opinion are eligible. So it is his opinion, his choice that is paramount, and this B is the correct assumption. Option 4. Question 4. The government has decided to reduce custom duty on computers. So option A, the government wants to make computer accessible to larger number of people, which is true, which is a valid assumption, because until and unless if the government would have wanted the opposite, that if using the falsification test, if the government would have wanted to make computer inaccessible to people, then it would not reduce the prices but would increase them. That would be something contrary to the statement. So if we use the falsification test, we can see that falsifying the given option proves to be contrary to the statement and threatens its credibility. Hence, the particular statement given, option given, supports the premise of the statement, and thus it is a valid assumption. Option B says that prices in domestic market may go up in near future. So prices in domestic market will go up in near future. This is totally irrelevant to the particular thing, because here we're talking about the custom duty on computers that the government is deciding, and if the price in domestic market were to go up in near future, why will they reduce the custom duty? There is no link between the two. So B is not a valid assumption. Option 5. You can win over new friends by a warm smile. So here, you can win over new friends by a warm smile. First of all, you'll have to assume that yes, it is necessary to win over new friends. Secondly, you'll have to say that it is always better to smile warmly to new persons. So both the assumptions must hold true. So because if you're saying that you can win over new friends by your warm smile, and if someone says that no, it is not, like, I don't care if I want to, like, I don't care about winning over new friends, so then your entire statement would fall down. So you'll have to assume that it is necessary to win over new friends. See, whenever you're talking about assumptions, especially one-liners, think of it as a two-way conversation and think that what are the basic ground rules that you must keep in mind while having a conversation so that you're on the same page. The assumptions bring you on the same page. For example, if you're saying that I do not like that girl because she is mean to people, and if you're telling this to some other person B, there must be an assumption in both of your minds that being mean to people makes a person bad to hold that particular statement as true or as a credible statement in the minds of both the people. So assumptions are those basic ground rules that you set for conversation. So until and unless you want to make new friends, the entire object that you can win over new friends by a warm smile will not hold true, because you should be interested in making new friends for the statement to hold true. Similarly, the second option, that it is always better to smile warmly to new persons. This is also a valid assumption, because in general it is better to smile warmly to new persons so that you can make friends with them. So yes, these are all the questions that I'll discuss. I've also included 10 one-liners from CLAT 2009. You can pause at this video and try solving them. And if you have any doubts, ask them in the comment section below. All the very best. Thank you.